So it's my pleasure today to introduce our speaker, Traci Lanier of 10,000 Degrees. Traci has worked at 10,000 Degrees for 20 years and is currently vice president. In her role, she is responsible for overseeing scholarships, data, evaluation, policy, and advocacy, as well as cultivating partnerships locally and nationwide that support the college success field and provide opportunities for students from low-income communities. Traci is passionate about transforming education policy and structures to better support access and opportunity for all students. Traci serves on the board of the National Scholarship Providers Association. She is a founding steering committee member of the Northern California College Promise Coalition. She's active in many national, statewide, and local equity-focused partnerships. She previously served on the advisory council for Compass, which is College of Marin Dual Enrollment Partnership, as co-chair of the Marin Promise College Enrollment Action Team. She's a special advisor on projects for the College Board. Traci holds a master's degree in international studies from the University of Denver and a bachelor's degree in international relations from San Francisco State. And on a personal note, she's a resident of Novato and has 2 teenagers. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Traci. Again, welcome.
Thank you so much, Sue. And thank you, everybody. It was just so interesting. I was a little nervous to follow the election because you all have been so busy and just tireless in getting the word out. We were really fortunate to be a part of 2 of the candidate forums, and I just left reminded how just critically important that is to have the opportunity to hear from people who are, running for office, especially our school boards, which is just an area of, all roles, but my particular interest is school boards and school policy and the opportunity that we have by electing smart people. So thank you for hosting those. I also refer people to Voters Edge all the time. We get a lot of questions about who to vote for or what to vote for, and I use that resource ton. So thank you for your work on that as well. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. Okay. Is it in? Here we go. That's better. That look good? Okay.
Yes, that's perfect.
Great. Well, thank you again. As Sue mentioned, I'm Traci with 10,000 Degrees. I'm going to share some information about our work in Marin and in the Bay Area, as well as weave in some of the policy issues around higher educational access that we're particularly interested in. And I will have plenty of time for questions. So 10,000 Degrees, we're based here in San Rafael, and our focus is really around achieving educational equity, in particular with students from low-income households, as well as students from communities of color to get to and through college, which will be an important tidbit, as well as go on to just really realize their full potential and positively impact their communities and the world. Our vision has been, we've been around for over 40 years. It's been consistent nearly the whole time, just around around educational opportunity for all students, so that race and ethnicity and socioeconomics aren't determining factors of educational outcomes. And we work in many ways to partner and directly support students to realize that. Just some information about who we work with. 100% of our students are from low-income communities. We, in particular, focus outreach on students from communities of color. Many of our students are the first generation of their family to attend college, but we last year reached over 12,000 students throughout the Bay Area, and I'll tell you more about how we did that. And this is Kevin here. He's one of our alumni who was on our team for a bit, as well as a fellow. Let's see. Here, just to give you a sense, we were founded in Marin. I'll talk more about that in a minute, but now work throughout the Bay Area, which has been a great way to just leverage resources and partnerships in other communities. It's sort of in service of our local students and beyond. We are, our model works. 80% of our students who started a four-year school will graduate nationwide. And I've remained shocked every time I say it, that less than 30% of students from communities of color and low-income households would graduate attending a four-year university. And we're really, working to close that gap for students who start at a community college as well. This is an out-of-date slide. We actually awarded just over $6 million this year, this fall, in college scholarships. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And we're very focused on affordability and helping students leverage all the other types of financial aid that are available. So our students end up with significantly less loan debt than average. And I know loan forgiveness has been all over the news, but this remains a key focus of our work. And again, I mentioned community college, but there is a very significant gap in college completion for students who start at community college. And we have some specialized programs to really help ensure that those students have the resources and information and guidance that they need to make that a really strong start for them. Just here, it's fun. You can look for your alma mater. We have students across the country at 166 colleges and universities. Most of our students are in the Bay Area, but it's fun to see, for the right student, there can be a great fit all across the country. So it's always fun to look for maybe a familiar campus logo there. So really the core, I would say, the secret sauce to all of our work is believing in students. And just these are the core values that really guide all of our work. We try to center all of our programming around, holding students at the center and really believing that if we keep that focus, we will do the right thing and find the path forward. A few of our other core values here, again, educational opportunity. We know, and I think you'll agree, a college degree remains the single most significant determinant of family income over a lifetime. And, we believe that a college degree can change the trajectory of families in poverty and generations to come. And we believe education is key to our society and voting and, being involved, that civic engagement. It's one of the gateways to be more involved. Here's just another view of that. Some of the things, so I've said a lot of words. You might be wondering, what do we actually do? So we provide a lot of college advising, financial aid support. We administer scholarships, and I'll go into a little more detail on all of these. Let's see, but I want to just start with kind of what makes us different. So there are a lot of college success organizations throughout the Bay Area and the country. You may have heard of some of the larger ones like Summer Search or College Track that are doing great work, and we partner with many of them. But we are fairly unique in the field of organizations working on college success. We have no GPA or test score requirements for any of our programming, including our scholarships. So, we believe that a GPA doesn't necessarily reflect someone's potential. There could have been other things going on through their educational pathway, or, frankly, not all of our schools serve all of our students. as equitably as we'd like. So we don't want that to be a barrier for students. We also have a long history of serving students regardless of documentation status. So we've been very clear that our customers, our students are the people of Marin when we were only serving Marin, but the people of the communities that we're serving. So that's inclusive of, sort of however someone ended up in our schools. We also are unique in our focus on community college. A lot of scholarships and, college organizations are really focused on getting students into prestigious four-year pathways. We believe that community college is a very strong starting point and really the only option in some cases for our students. And so we want to help ensure that students get the right start there and have, again, the support to and through. I'm not sure if you're aware, but the California community college system is the largest system of education in the United States. And I think it's second in the world, serving over 2 million students. And many of those students are first generation students of color. So the partnerships where we can support community college pathways is a really just strong, it's really important in terms of higher education. We also provide both scholarship, but we pair our scholarships for our college scholarships with support. So I'll talk about our fellowship program in a minute, but we don't just send the money to students and wish them good luck, but we have a comprehensive college success program that is very important to help students get through college. We also have an internship and career support program that's growing, that's really exciting, and our fellowship program, which I'm going to tell you about right now. I lost my little arrow. There we go. So our fellows, this is an incredible program that we started 10 years ago in 2012. Fellows are our recent college graduates who come back and do most of our direct service work, both at high school and college. The near peer relationships has been incredibly powerful for students. And our fellows, when they're on campus, are really culture carriers in a way of modeling high expectations and educational equity in a way that we weren't able to do before. So they play a very important role on the campuses where they work. We need to update this slide. I think we're over 100 fellows now. Many of them are alumni, so they might have gone through some of our high school or college programming themselves. And then some of them go on to grad school or other employment. Many of them are promoted internally and become managers and beyond. So this is not only a way that we're doing our direct service, but it's also kind of a young professionals pathway where over the 3 years with their fellows, they're getting a lot of professional development, training, professional skills, LinkedIn, learning to use Salesforce, all of those things. And so it's really fun to see them go out into the world and do just amazing things. We had an event last week or a couple weeks ago celebrating our alumni, and it was so fun to see, fellows come back and they're working at, different community agencies. They are bankers, they're in grad school getting PhDs, they're going to be lawyers. So really, this is kind of this wave of change that we're really excited to be a part of. Some of the things our fellows do, around financial aid, family support, all of those. Just briefly, so 10,000 Degrees was founded in Marin County. You might, if you've been in the county for a long time, Marin Education Fund might ring a bell. I know this is tiny, so don't worry about reading it, but I'll just highlight a few things. So we were founded in 1981 as Marin Education Fund, and we served the people of Marin. It was a group of women who put together a scholarship program and gave scholarships to local students. So we have met students from 40 years ago that got a scholarship and can share what an impact that made for them. Then about 20, just over 20, 3 years ago, Kim Mizuka, who's currently our president and CEO, joined, and the board really went through just a real self-reflection. Were the scholarships they were giving out really having the impact that they intended, the best impact? Were we really helping students get to and through college, as was in our mission? And at that time, we really went through a fundamental transformation where we learned that, we made our scholarships 100% need-based, so for low-income students. And what we found out was the students we wanted to give scholarships to weren't ready. They didn't apply. They didn't know about college. And so that's when we launched our access work in our middle schools and high schools. And then we got those students ready, we got them scholarships, and we sent them to college. And then we learned that wasn't enough. Getting them to college was not enough. We needed to extend our support all the way through college. So that's kind of the hub of our, strategic. It remains really our strategic plan. And in 2010, we did change our name. So we'd been Marin Education Fund. And if as all of you know, in Marin County, we were often confused with Marin Community Foundation, which, if you're trying to raise money, which we do raise money, it's not great to be confused with one of the largest community foundations in the country. So that, along with the fact that we were serving students, we had started serving students in Sonoma and beyond. So we, having such a specific geography could limit some of the impact that we would have. So we changed our name to 10,000 Degrees. I don't know if anyone's been through a name change process, but it was quite the project. And the name, we like the name because there's a lot of energy. It's also the surface temperature of the sun, but it really represents our vision of helping put 10,000 students on the path to a college degree in every community that we serve. So in total, we've probably served more than 10,000 students, but if we just think about however you define community, what that means to get students on that pathway where they can really be successful. So then this also highlights some of our just other key moments. One other thing about our name, and this photo made me think of it, another piece we really like about the name is students very quickly sort of owned it themselves, and they would say, I am 1 degree. So, and we are 10,000 degrees. So the name just really generated a lot of energy and ownership, both, for our supporters, but in particular for our students. So I'm going to talk specifically now about some of our programs in Marin County. Marin, given it's really our longest standing market, we do have some programming here in the county that we don't do. We haven't expanded to other communities. So I'm excited to share that. Just so you know, we support about 1,000 Marin County students with college scholarships. This year, I think that'll be about $2 million, including almost 300 students at College of Marin, where we're working in partnership with the college to help students stay in school, but also get to the transfer milestone. So another name change here, may have heard of Marin County School Volunteers. That was a program out of the County Office of Education for many years, and they joined with 10,000 Degrees, COVID time, I can't remember, 5 or 6 years ago. And we've kind of repackaged them as 10,000 Degrees Academic Success. This program places volunteers into classrooms. So we work throughout the county. These are some high schools, but we work, most of the volunteers are in the K through 8, K through 5 schools throughout the county, and supporting teachers. So the teachers can request a volunteer, and our volunteers often go in weekly and just really have a great time connecting with the students. We definitely, this program contracted, as you can imagine, during COVID, when most of our volunteers are older, they were uncomfortable going in, or there were rules at the school that we couldn't be on campus. So we're kind of rebuilding this year. So if you know anyone who's interested in getting involved, we're happy to connect you with our team that's working with our teachers. There's always more need than volunteers, as I'm sure you're well aware at the league. But this is an amazing way to have a really direct impact and get the experience of what's happening in schools. It's been very illuminating, I think, for a lot of the volunteers. In Marin, we also have what we call our early college and career programming at Novato, Martin Luther King Junior Academy, and then Tomales High School. And these programs are really about another critical transition, which is 8th to 9th grade. That's, if you look at sort of education data, a lot of students go missing. Like, that's a whole question for me, but B, a student's trajectory can really be sort of on track or off track between 8th and 9th grade. So it's a critical moment to help students be prepared for high school, get the classes that they need, and really know what their pathway is. So these are, really great programs working at that transition. In Nevada, we're in particular work with English language learner students and newcomers. There is a growing newcomer population in both San Rafael and Novato in particular, though it would be throughout the county. And so this program is really helping students kind of know what their options are if they're coming as an 11th grader. What are their options after high school, connecting with the campus community, and so they can have those supports in place. Let's see, our college access programming is on our high school campuses. We're at every comprehensive high school in Marin County, including many of the continuation high schools like Madrone or Marin Oaks might be familiar. So our fellows are on campus, and they're having office hours. Many times we're going into senior classes to talk about financial aid. Right now is financial aid season, so we want students to complete either the FAFSA, which is the federal application for student aid, or the California DREAM Act application, which is a state aid program for undocumented students. And just completing those forms is a huge sort of predictor of college going. So this has long been a focus for us. And in California now, recent guidance through the Department of Ed actually makes it mandatory for students, unless they opt out, to complete financial aid forms their senior year. So I'm very interested in kind of what the data is going to show about what this means for college going and opportunity. You would think this is kind of a no-brainer, though I've been involved in a few conversations where, families are concerned, and this runs the whole gamut of the families that we serve and just the families in our schools, about sharing pretty personal data to apply for financial aid. You need to use your tax returns, they look at income. So that's something that we navigate kind of in different ways. And it was very interesting to me that we were getting some feedback from some Novato families actually about feeling pressured to bring this highly sensitive information to school. So students do not have to complete these financial aid forms at school. They can do them at home. They can have a one-on-one meeting. Just if you ever hear that concern, I want to just give you that information. We offer online workshops, so there's no one forcing anyone to bring personal information to school. That was just, let's correct that if you hear it, please. So that's our focus. The financial aid deadline is March 2nd. So we'll be working right up until the end to get everyone those financial aid applications in. Just briefly, I'll just talk briefly about this slide. In the summer, so we start working, aside from those earlier programs I mentioned, the bulk of our work starts in the summer after 11th grade. So between the junior year and the senior year, where we have what we call the College Opportunity Summit. So we're recruiting students and it's an opportunity to learn about college, what the options are, what the senior year is going to look like, what help is available, what questions they have, and what they can do now. And then, like I said, the rest of the year, we're actually on campus working with students, sometimes in classes or through office hours. And then hopefully these high school seniors apply for, they will and receive our 10,000 Degrees Scholarship. So this is really the largest program that 10,000 Degrees runs, supporting nearly 3,000 students this year with renewable scholarships. So that means that once a student has a scholarship from us, we're going to keep renewing that support all the way, well, hopefully 6 or 7 years, and hopefully that's all the way through. But again, we're unique in that we don't have a GPA requirement for this. The money for these scholarships comes, from generous individual supporters, local civic organizations like Rotary clubs or employer groups, and it's paired then with our college success program, which I'll tell you about now. College Success Program, it's similar. It's delivered by our fellows, but this is for our college students. So it's often virtual, though at College of Marin, Santa Rosa JC, some of our San Francisco schools, we have a large enough group of students that it's really worthwhile to be on campus and have the chance to interact with students. So it's kind of a combination of in-person and virtual. And we're really focused on helping students connect with supportive services and programs on campus, because the number, 2 reasons students drop out of college, one is money and affordability, and the second is just not feeling like they have a place on campus. So, what are the groups students can get involved in, helping students learn about how to navigate working with a professor, or if you miss a class, what to do, all of those transition things that if you're the first in your family to go to college, you might not have another resource to ask. And then for our community college students, we're very focused on helping students make the transfer to a 4-year school. We also have a large program around helping our allies in education. So our area of expertise is really around financial aid for low-income students, as well as working with undocumented students and English language learners. And so we offer a number of train the trainer workshops where school counselors, other CBO agency, other community-based organizations, just interested individuals in the community can join us for to just share what we're learning and thinking about, and hopefully leave with some tips and tricks about working with different student populations. Here's a little bit more about that. As you'll see, we work with pretty much everyone that touches education and beyond. In Marin County, we're the California Student Aid Commission regional coordinator for financial aid. So that's an exciting partnership. But we're connecting with foster youth support teams, the college outreach teams, kind of anyone that can help us get in front of students and get the word out. And then our newest program is our career success programming. We're just really excited about helping students now make that leap from college to a meaningful career. And as I'm sure you all are aware, networks, who you know, you don't just send in I mean, I've been hiring and we get lots of resumes and few are qualified. And so employers, those personal connections are so important. So how can we help students, develop networks, but also have just the professional skills and experience to make those connections, to make a really great first impression, to really be prepared to be a part of the workforce. So that's our career success program. And this spring, we're going to be relaunching a career mentor program where interested people, maybe yourself or someone, can provide some mentorship for students, whether it's just one time prepping for an interview or reviewing a resume, or longer, exploration of, a energy efficiency industry or some of the different industries that students are interested in. And finally, and I'll end here and then would love to take any questions. Let me just make sure I'm ending here. Yeah. Just a few, all of this work is so important, but we know that, we can reach every student and do our best, but if we don't make structural policy changes in the education system, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. So we are active in policy and advocacy issues that will help our students have opportunity and resources to succeed. So some of those are around college affordability, continues to be, a challenge. The Pell Grant is the federal aid program for our most low-income students. It's been in the news a little bit lately, but you can see, back when people always say, well, when I went to college, it was $20 and my financial aid covered it. You can see that back in the 70s, the Pell Grant covered 79, 80% of, on average, a student's cost. Now it only covers 30%. So that's just kind of gets right to the heart of the student loan crisis. And again, why students leave college if they can't pay for it, if they can't pay for food, if they're housing insecure, all of that is really tied together around college success. So there is a program, and I have a link on the next page and I can put it in the chat around, there's a campaign about doubling Pell. We're fortunate right now to have in California, and we'll see nationwide, but administration and educational leadership that's pretty friendly to education. It's not always the time, but so hopefully some of these changes we can get through sooner rather than later to really, fundamentally affect higher education in the country. Something else we're keeping an eye on is declining college enrollment. This is the lower chart here with the 3 colors. Basically, it's all declining. And it shows spring 2020, spring 2021, and spring 2022. And, it was probably no surprise with COVID that, online school wasn't as fun. Colleges were scrambling to figure out how to get, in some cases, professors didn't even have computers. So it was, students maybe needed to work or care for their family. So, the enrollment really started to decline. I think what was concerning is now spring leading into fall, we haven't seen it rebound as you would expect. Often when there's economic uncertainty or high unemployment, you will see college going kind of rebound, but that's not playing out this year. So I don't have a policy issue here, but just something to be mindful of as you're hearing the news or hearing about educational issues. This is a big concern because, where are these students going? Where are these young people going? And it gets harder and harder and harder to come back if you don't enroll soon after high school. We are also really excited about some work being done in Marin and Sonoma County, actually, around really building a strong pipeline for teachers of color. As you may be aware, the teachers in our schools do not represent, in many cases, the majority of the students that they're teaching. And we know through our fellowship program and that near peer modeling, and the data just shows the impact that having an educator that looks like you is just a really profound. And that's something the schools in Marin have all really been working on. And now there's a coalition with Marin Promise, College of Marin, and all the districts around how do we strengthen this pipeline and both provide the opportunity, but also the supports. And interestingly, and I don't know where this will end up, but something that struck me in these conversations is one of the hurdles to getting a teaching credential is the year-long student teaching piece that's required. So once they have the coursework, they're required to be in a classroom, and you're not paid during, those are unpaid, it's an unpaid year. So, how do we expect students to really, navigate just the cost of that? So that's an area that, I think together, all of these organizations can come up with some, solutions, and there are innovative solutions out there, but we just need to get them, find them, and then get them going in Marin. So, but I'm really excited about that, and hopefully we'll be hearing more about some successes there. And then a success really in California has been to ban, I guess I should have put ban scholarship displacement. So scholarship displacement is a practice in financial aid offices where, for example, 10,000 Degrees might send a scholarship for, financial aid office would say, oh, well, they are getting that piece of the financial picture covered, so we're going to move our money to a different student or a different, so they would sort of offset the scholarship. And it was very frustrating for scholarship providers and, frankly, a disservice to sort of the donors who invest in scholarships. And, it's just had a really negative effect on students. So California is one of 4 or 5 states across the country now that has a ban in place. So, providing guidance to financial aid offices that they're not allowed to displace aid, so students can really get the aid that they need to complete college. And finally, just, can't leave such a great group of involved people without just letting you know how you can get involved, or if you hear of people who are interested in education and want to help students. I mentioned our academic support volunteers. Our career mentoring program can be kind of as short or as long as you like. We have some really fun events coming this spring called Money Matters, where we go to high school groups and actually set them up with a mock college budget, and they have to go around and spend their money. They need to get housing and food and books, and it's very fun to watch how students their first approach, and then they get to have a redo if they need to reallocate their resources. So it's a real important skill for students, and we're always looking for volunteers at those. And then we do have an advisory board. Pam Cook is on our advisory board here in Marin. We meet about 5 or 6 times a year and really lean on that group just to keep us updated on what's happening in the community that we should either be a part of or know about, or opportunities for students. And then here's the link for the Double Pell campaign. Would love your support on that. And let's see. Finally, here's my contact info. We can also drop it in the chat, but I'd love to take any questions or feedback or.
Well, thank you, Traci. That was fantastic. What a comprehensive overview of an amazing organization. Does anybody have any questions? I didn't see any in the chat so far.
I see one from Lynn.
Okay.
How do our student numbers? So we serve more students in Marin than we do in any other community right now, just because we have more programming across the spectrum. In other communities like Napa and San Francisco, we are really focused starting at 11th grade and up. So necessarily there'll just be fewer students.
Great. Ann Wakely has a question. So we'll get
Thank you, Traci. This is so interesting, and it must be so gratifying to do this work.
Yes.
What a rewarding way to spend your time. Now, I was wondering, what percentage of applicants for scholarships are you able to fund?
That is a great question. And it varies really from year to year based on how much money we have available, but as well as our applicants. This year, for better or worse, we did receive some generous gifts over COVID and last year. And so we were able to fund actually everyone who qualified this year. That's not going to be the case always going forward. And the other factor there that's actually concerning, I mean, I'm concerned that we were able to fund all the applicants because that means we didn't get enough applicants in my mind. So we did see some decline in our number of applicants throughout our different communities. So that's a particular area of focus for our program teams and of research for our data and evaluation team to really understand kind of what that means in terms of college going.
So can I ask one more before?
Yeah.
You work with younger students, in middle school and in high school. So how do you identify those students?
Right. We really depend on our school partners to help us identify students. Obviously, sometimes we're doing school-wide events, so everyone's welcome. But in terms of our specialized services, the counselors, teacher referrals can help us really identify the groups of students that need our support. And with an important caveat that we always want to also be working with community partners, Canal Alliance as a Bridge the Gap are great partners because we can't always depend that a counselor or a teacher, we're concerned about the students who aren't on the radar of those people as well. So how do we, get to know the school community so we can be sure to reach the students that the school has identified, but also the students that might be falling through the cracks.
Traci, I have a question. You mentioned earlier there's like a family liaison. How do you work when you identify those students? How do you work with the parents then and the families to kind of, encourage that success and that going to college? How does that process work?
Yeah, so for some of our it's family events. We offer in Marin, all of our events are in English and Spanish. Parents are encouraged to attend. Definitely see more, I'd say, outreach and participation at the middle school level as they get to be seniors in high school, though. So often filling out financial aid or submitting college applications is actually kind of a family event. It's very special because it's such a milestone for the different families. But that English and Spanish, and we're so grateful that you did the forums this year for San Rafael and Nevada that we were able to do those in English and Spanish as well. Great.
We have a question from Mark Noguchi here. Mark, okay, you want to mute yourself?
Yeah, hi. I appreciate what you're doing and I'm very supportive. I appreciate all the information I've got. The questions that come up to me is, well, this is kind of a stretch, but I'll get back to where I'm going. So when I taught graduate school for nurse anesthetists, and when they applied, these are all nurses that have been out for a while. They had to come to the interview. I would say, why do you think you want to do this? And then we required people to shadow somebody. And the really good one said, yeah, I spent all day at Oakland Kaiser shadowing so-and-so, and I spent all day with so-and-so at UCSF. So I really
Yeah.
kind of know what I'm getting into. So what I'm thinking is, one thing to say I want to get a college degree or a 2-year degree. How do you get these students to really know the realities, which is both good and bad? I want to be a CPA, I want to be a lawyer, and to be with a real life person. And the real life person sort of says, you might not be cut out for this because of, here's the dark side of this particular career. So having that knowledge of being with someone who does something that you think you want to do, it would also give that person the kind of energy to pursue the education that's required.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, how do seniors get that opportunity to be with real life people out there in a profession that they think they want to go into?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I mean, so important, right? Like seniors often don't really have any idea what they want to do. We do have a great program in Marin called the School to Career Partnership that does do some of that, offering students sort of one day or ongoing opportunities to shadow different employers in the community. But Mark, we need to do more of that. I think that's, we're working with our college students now to figure out, that's why internships are so important. You can get some experience and maybe you'll hate it or love it or love a different aspect of it. And, how can we get students that experience? You're just right on about that. COVID definitely put a wrench in all of that because we, couldn't do things in person. So hoping that over the coming years to see a lot more in-person opportunities to get that exposure.
Great. Any other questions out there? Okay. All right. Anne, do you have some closing comments then?
I just want to thank you again, Traci, for being with us today. And thank you so much for the work that you do. It's so important. I mean, education is, as we know, is the key. And so many young people don't really even think it's going to be possible for them. And 10,000 Degrees knows it is. And I think that's such a gift to our community. So thank you so much. And thank you for joining us, and hope to see you again soon.
Yes, thank you all for all you do. And it's such a pleasure to be here. And I'm sure we'll get to work together soon.